Reviews is what I use to determine whether I want to read a book or not. I mean, it can be word of mouth marketing, or it can be a review on Amazon. You know that if my favorite booktuber like Leo says a book is 5 stars, I will listen. Or if a book has very low ratings on Goodreads or Amazon, I might not pick it up because who wants to read a terrible book? But what if a book literally has no reviews? As you can see behind me, I buy a lot of books, and generally I use reviews as a key way to determine whether a book is worth buying or not. But recently I watched this amazing video where a YouTuber bought cat products with no reviews, and it left me wondering, what if I am able to find books that literally have 0 reviews? That would literally mean that I will be the first person to review that book, and who knows, I could discover a hidden gem. So I decided I would do it, but finding a book on Amazon with 0 reviews is not easy. And guys, I don't want to sound mean here, but it's pretty sad if you have launched a book for a week or two and literally have 0 reviews, because you know you are allowed to review your own book. So I actually thought that this would be crazy hard. Surely there can't be many books with literally no reviews. In my mind, that just sounds absolutely absurd. Fortunately, I was able to find a way. So if you go to Amazon and, for example, just write fantasy book, all the top choices will be books with hundreds, thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of reviews. But I was able to find a way to find these hidden gems with literally no reviews. So if you go to Amazon and you click on new arrivals and choose the last 30 days, and then you specify Kindle Unlimited and go to page 2 and onwards, you will find some books that literally have no reviews. And no, they haven't been out for 1 day. Some of these books have been out for weeks. And you'll also find a lot of very questionable romantasy books. Alright, so I've written here fantasy book, and as you can see, like the top one has 361,000 reviews, fourth thing obviously. But let's see what I just said. So we'll go to the last 30 days and we'll specify Kindle Unlimited. Alright, and now we've already found one book. The first book, The Devil's Bargain, A Forbidden Love, A Ruthless Empire, and a Bargain Written in Blood. Oh, it's book 3. Not gonna buy that one, but what is that cover? That is so dodgy. I would probably absolutely hate that. Alright, scrolling down, 3 reviews. System Warrior, okay, has 20. What is that? Like, I mean, I probably need to blur that. That is way too graphic for YouTube. Dungeon Heroes Omnibus, book 1 to 6. Definitely not reading that. And it has reviews anyways. Alright, let's go to page 2 and have a look, shall we? Alright, we have found a book with 0 reviews. Romantic Suspense Book of Luna Curse. Why does it even start with that? So it's romance with werewolf made for adults, and it's 89 pages. Let's buy it. Only £3.90, paperback. Let's do it. I'm definitely gonna read this, and so excited. Alright, one more book here. Wonderworld Chronicles, A Journey of Mystery and Imagination. So this book is 123 pages, has 0 reviews, and it's for age 8 to 12. Man, I'm actually starting to worry here that I'm just buying lots of AI generated garbage. Oh, I don't want to be too critical, because if an illustrator has actually worked on this cover and spent a lot of time on it, I'll feel so bad for claiming it's AI. I do have some concerns though, but I can't be the judge here. Let's just hope it's not AI. We're gonna buy this one as well. Alright, we have one more here. Rejected by My Fated Maid. Oh, what is that cover? A secret baby werewolf shifter paranormal romance. That is probably the worst description I've ever heard about any book in my whole life. This sounds absolutely horrible. She was nothing, now she will be everything. Oh, what am I doing with myself? It has to be done. We have to at least read a bit of this book to see if it's any good, because it has reviews. How can I know if it might be a masterpiece? We're definitely buying this one as well. Alright, so that's 3 books. Let's do one more. Alright, I found one. Enchanted by the Winter King. What is up with these books? These are so horrible. A forbidden fantasy romance of ice and fire. A heart-stopping enemies to lover fantasy romance with magic, fate, and unbreakable bounds. 78 pages, mate. Do you think this is literally just AI written? Like, how would I know? Who is the author? Deepak Kumar. Alright, so we do have an author picture here. Grew up with a passion for both entrepreneurship and storytelling. He's a storyteller at heart, weaving tales of love, longing, and the silent whispers of unfinished emotions. What does that even mean? Alright, we're buying this one as well. Let's give it a couple of days and see which books are right, shall we? Oh, and I also forgot to mention, to make this video a bit more fun, I have to give every single book a 5-star review, because I'm all about supporting up-and-coming authors, right? And yes, I'm totally nicked that idea from Ryan Trahan, who's my favorite YouTuber by far. And yes, Ryan, please comment if you watch this video, which I don't think you will. Alright, it's been a day, and 2 of the books have arrived because the other 2 are digital only. But I do have physical copies of these 2 books. Let's have a look at this one. So, Romantic Suspense, book 1 of Lunar Curse. So, I think my assessment of this book and this cover, I don't think this is AI. Don't think so. I think it looks alright, but I did have a look through and I wasn't able to see an illustrator mentioned anyway in this book, so we'll see. I just at least hope the words are written by a human. Then we have another book here. What is it called? Wonder World Chronicles, A Journey of Mystery and Imagination. So I'm just gonna state it now, and if an illustrator has made this, I'm so sorry. I hate actually accusing anyone of using AI that hasn't used AI, but there's a couple things here, so you can't really see it, but some of the books in the background here, they literally make no sense. Like they just look really, really weird. So I'm pretty sure that this cover is AI. So I'm a bit more worried about this one, but I thought it'd be fun to actually start with romantasy, right? Because that's what I'm all about on this channel. I love romantasy books. And yeah, let's give this one a try, shall we? Alright, okay, so I am nearing the end of this novel. So it's only 77 pages and there's not much text on each page, so you could probably read this in half an hour, at least less than an hour. A couple of things that I find quite funny. Every chapter starts with the point of view, and when it's like shared, it says like third person, and then it gives the name of the characters and says alternating. That is just quite funny. Okay, what do I think about this novel so far? Let me just say it like this. I am not good at writing books. I don't have any plans, and I think that if I ever wrote a book, it might be at a slightly lower quality than this. And this sounds really, really harsh, but this is just not very, very good. So I think the basics of writing a story, at least a good story that makes sense, is that you write a plot point, you make like something happen, and then the next event that happens because of the event that happened before, and so on and so on. But in this story here, it just feels like this happens and this happens and this happens, and it just almost makes no sense. I'm gonna finish this novel, then I'll tell you a bit more about what it is, and I'll give you my final thoughts on it. But yeah, I think it's gonna be hard to give this 5 stars. Okay, so that's me finished. I have officially read this novel, and this was frankly not good. I don't even know where to start with this book review, genuinely. Okay, so the story starts with these two characters that are in some kind of tribe in the forest or something, and they're just told that their souls have to be connected for some reason. So they go through this ritual, and these two characters that we basically know nothing about are now joined, like their souls are joined. They feel each other's emotions and stuff, but they kind of hate each other. And then fast forward, and we hear a lot about something ominous is going to happen. We don't really know why. And then later on, there's a reference to one of the female characters' background, that her parents mysteriously died. We don't really know why. And then later on, there's a full moon and a vampire pops up, and then they realize that all things are connected and something really bad is about to happen. They bring it back to the elders, and basically there's like a bit of drama because different tribes hate each other for some reason. And then they go out and fight this werewolf, and a lot of people die, and at the end they have this vision, the female had this vision, that the only way to unite all the tribes is by them working together. And that's basically the plot. It genuinely was, it sounds so mean, but none of the characters were well realized. They felt ridiculously 2D. The plot just makes absolutely no sense. I still don't know anything about the tribe. It was just so random how different world building elements were introduced, and the analysis of trauma and all these things were just extremely surface level. This was, I mean, the good thing is you can read this in probably half an hour, so that's the best thing I can probably say about this novel, and it has werewolves. And I also do think that this is actually written by a person, so Helena Sekro, if you ever see this review, I'm so sorry that I'm being so mean, but I did not enjoy this at all. 5-star review. The best thing about this novel is that you can read it in less than 30 minutes, which means you can read a whole book in 30 minutes. It also has werewolves. Alright, so it is time to jump into book number 2 out of 4 I'm going to try to read that has 0 reviews. And yeah, we come to this novel that at least the cover looks AI written, and you know, I do think that I might not finish this novel if it's written by an AI as well, because I mean, just the cover here makes me really, really worried. I know I said for the challenge I need to read the whole book, but I want to do this challenge because I want to try and support up-and-coming authors. If any of these novels I read, I think they're AI, I might DNF it. But let's actually go into this with an open mind, because we actually do have a picture of the author here, which is quite a good sign that this actually might not be AI written. So without further ado, let's give it a go. Okay, so I am 20 pages into this novel, and this is, oh man, I hope I'm correct here, but this is genuinely awful. And this sounds really mean, and I'll read a bit more before I like make my full assessment here. I do think that this is AI written, and you know, if it's not, I feel bad, but I just have to tell you why. There's a lot of evidence here that this is AI garbage, and I'm sorry again, author, if you actually haven't. So let me just show you some of the evidence. Firstly, the outline makes no sense. There's so many, and this may be not the best example. Let me just find another page. There are so many sentences that are just like a small sentence, a small sentence, a small sentence, a small sentence. And I use ChatGPT, you know, I recently did revisions for my exams. I use ChatGPT a lot to help me understand. And this looks like something that AI would have written, or ChatGPT. Another evidence here. I know from fact from my revisions when I did my Lean Six Sigma qualification and did all those revisions that AI, or sorry, ChatGPT often will make random sentences bold. This whole story is flooded with random words in bold. You can see it here, 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 you can see it here. In my mind, it makes no sense. But the most damning evidence, and this is just unbelievable, and I know that if you ask ChatGPT to write something, like make a list or something, occasionally it will add emojis into it. Guys, the list here on this page has emojis. That is literally something ChatGPT would do. This is honestly insane. And then if I talk about the content of the story, this story makes literally no sense. Oh, I'm so angry. I feel like I'm wasting my time, and it's 130 pages. Not a lot of words on each page, but I'm not gonna finish this novel, I think, but I'll read around 10 more pages and then I'll decide if I'm gonna quit this. Okay, page 57. I am officially DNFing this novel. I know this means I've officially failed this challenge, but I don't care. There's so many things that I hate about this book. I don't think this should be allowed to be sold even on Amazon, because the quality here is so poor. Another thing here that I also think is AI is the fact that a lot of the chapters, they start with a sentence that makes literally no sense. So you see here, this chapter here, chapter 14, it has a title, The Door Opens, and then the chapter starts with a random sentence, something is on the other side. And you might think, oh, that might relate a bit to the start of the next chapter, but almost every single chapter starts with a name for the chapter, which kind of makes sense, but then it feels like there's a sub-name that comes straight after. The past comes knocking. It's right here. That's part of the story. But it isn't. Like, what are these sentences? And so many of these chapters. Again here, chapter 11, The Enchanted Supply Closet. The first line of this chapter is, a story too ridiculous to be real. And then it says, Billy wasn't too sure. And then the story starts. Why? This must be AI. There's no way this is an AI. And just to tell you a bit of what this story is about, this is so ridiculous. It's about a guy working in IT. He's finished his memoir, and then suddenly he hears a voice about something like, write the stories for them or something. He's like, what does that mean? Why should I write stories? And then this whole new world opens to him, and he starts having these weird thoughts about the past, about his parents, like his father apparently kept talking about that he was so obsessed with writing stories and he was absolutely stupid, and so on and so on. And I don't even want to recall this plot because it's so ridiculous and stupid. But basically, yeah, he then goes to a library and he finds a book there's no pages in, and that somehow correlates with a dream he had about some boy called Billy. And genuinely, this is so awful. I don't even want to talk about this. It seriously makes me angry. But I'm so confused because we have an author's photo here. So I'm going to have a quick look online to see if I can figure anything about this author, just to figure out, am I actually right about him using AI? Because there's no way this is real. Okay, so I've just searched up Trevor Haynes here. That's the name of the author. Alright, let's go to his Amazon bio. Okay, so he does have a book here called Simple and Soothing Brain Boosters, which is really random for an author that apparently writes children's books. So that definitely gives a bit more evidence that this might be AI garbage. I'm gonna click on his profile. Alright, so we have Trevor Haynes here, and mate, he has 48 titles. That's what it says right here in the top corner. 48. There's no way this guy has written 48 books. Let's just have a quick look. So a lot of children's books here. A lot of them look very similar to what I've just bought. What else does he write? Let's just have a quick look. A lot of children's books. Okay. Wait, so he has a book called The Library of Forgotten Stories. This is genuinely the same book, isn't it? Related to Wonderworld Chronicles. Oh, what is this? No way. He has a book called The AI Gold Rush. Why would you ever write a novel called The AI Gold Rush and then put up stuff like this? There is no way this guy is for real. He has a novel called, or a book called, Self-Care for Busy Professionals. That is crazy. What else does he have? 365 Days of Affirmation. This guy is a hustler. He just pumps out stuff that makes essential dog training tips. He has Mastering YouTube CEO. Side hustles. Mate, this guy he's a joke. Side hustles. This is his side hustle. I'm wondering if this novel or this book that he refers to here literally just talks about how you can create AI garbage and post it on Amazon. He has a book called PHP MySQL Programming, and then he has a Valentine's Day coloring book. This is genuinely jokes. And you know what I discovered as well? This guy has no shame. I can't believe this. But at the end of this novel, he says, "Thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining me on this incredible journey through this book. Writing this story was deeply personal and thrilling, and I hope it sparked your imagination, kept you on the edge of your seat, and even made you see the magic in storytelling a little differently." This is so funny. Like, yeah, I don't believe you wrote a single word of this, mate. And this is just funny. I'm not gonna finish this novel. This is garbage. Do not waste money on this or any of these books. I can't believe what I just read. Hopefully the next novel I read will actually at least be written by a human. Like, I don't mind badly written books. I don't enjoy reading them, but I just want to support an author, okay? 5 stars. At least this novel has convinced me that AI is really bad at writing stories. If you want to give money to a random person that is not writing books, then this is the way to go. Alright, so it's time to read book number 3 of this challenge, and let me sit down. So I'm reading now a book called The Winter King, which is a fantasy romance, a forbidden fantasy romance. Has 0 reviews. Okay, so let's look at the cover here. Do you think that's AI or not? I always feel so bad in case it's actually a real, like, artist or, sorry, illustrator that's made this cover, but I will say this looks AI generated. Let me start reading this novel and we'll see if I enjoy it. I feel like I'm slowly losing my mind because the first novel was awful. The second one was dreadful. Genuinely, the first book felt good compared to the second one. So let's hope that I've discovered a hidden gem here, and unfortunately it's only Kindle. So let's get reading. Okay, so I am around halfway through this novel now, and I am worried because, and I'm not sure if you can see it, but very similar to the book I just read earlier. Oh, my voice cracked there. Hitting puberty. This novel also has a lot of sentences that are just in bold, and it makes no sense. This is what ChatGPT often does when you ask for a prompt. It makes things in bold. I am, again, worried this might be AI written stuff. So what is the story about? Am I enjoying the story? No. It is, again, so sorry author if you actually wrote this, but this is really, really bad. The only way I can describe it is that if I were to write a novel and I would have 0 talent for it, I could probably write something along the lines of what I've just been reading for the past hour or so. This book is very, very short. The story is about a Winter King that summons a random girl, and apparently she is a fire-born. So that means she has some attachment to the opposite, fire, you know? Winter fire. And then apparently there's a curse, and the only way they can bring balance back to the kingdom is if the Winter King and the fire-born work together. And the only way I can describe this is that this feels like 2D writing. The characters have no complexity to them, no depth. They are literally just archetypes. There's no complexity to them at all. The world is not fleshed out at all, and the plot really does not make any sense. This random girl is just called into this kingdom, and now she works with the Winter King, and then we just hear about a curse, but we know nothing about it. We hear about this Winter King, who is very, very, like, stoic and doesn't show any emotions at all. Our main character is so ridiculously flat, and I don't even know what to say. It just feels like a ChatGPT novel that says, write a novel about a Winter King, a fire-born or fire lover, and a curse, and this is what it wrote. It is genuinely so boring. I'm so sick and tired of these books, man. Let's finish this book. I think I'll be able to finish it within or less than an hour. Let's give it a try. And done. I have officially finished The Winter King. Oh, let me put the camera a bit up here. So, this was awful. This was so bad. Ugh, why did I even do this challenge? This is, you know, before this I had a reading slump, and I've been reading books that are the worst books I've almost read in my life. So I don't want to go into too much detail about what this novel is about, because I will not recommend anyone buying it, but there's a bit more complexity, I don't even want to call it that, in the second half of this book. There are some battles. They talk about Forsaken, and then this king that is supposed to come back and he'll bring back the Forsaken. Basically, there's a battle, they win, and at the end she decides to stay with the Winter King and work with him, so they don't become a couple. So I'm not really sure even where the romance is in here. A forbidden romance because it's fire and winter, but they don't really have a romance. The Winter King literally does not show any kind of warmth or love. Warmth. is a Winter King. Obviously you wouldn't. But this isn't a romance. And this is fantasy tropes written by ChatGPT, most likely. So boring, so like predictable. Who is this for? I've wasted so much money on this stupid challenge. This is the third book in a row that if I could give it 1 star, I would have given it 1 star. But let's do a 5-star review because that's what I promised to do. Book review. This book has words which is needed for a book. And I love books. End of review. Okay, so as of recording this video, it is officially the 1st of April, which means that the read-along for Empire of Silence has officially started today and my book club has gone live. But instead of reading one of people's favorite books of last year and a book club darling and a book that I expected to love, I have to finish this challenge and I have to read the last book of the challenge. Okay, let's look at this cover. Genuinely, what am I reading? What am I doing with my life? What has my booktube career come to? Okay, so I don't think this is AI for probably the first time of the challenge. Oh, I also think the first book probably wasn't AI. Who is this for? Who is gonna buy a book by this cover? This is awful. And the way it's described, again, it's only on Kindle. Rejected by my fated mate is the title. This is a secret baby werewolf shifter paranormal romance. That might be the most awful description I've heard for a book in my life. And this is also the longest book of the challenge, which is not even that long. I think it's around 160 pages. Fortunately, the plan is then to read this whole novel today, finish it, so I can actually start reading a hopefully good book with Empire of Silence. If you want to join the book club, link in the description down below. But let's start reading, shall we? Okay, let's do this. I'm gonna try and power through this. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully it'll hook me. Hopefully it'll be my favorite book of the year, but I don't expect so. Alright, so I am now around 40% into this novel. Again, a very quick read, but this one is taking a bit longer than the other ones because firstly, it is a multiple POV novel, and this is some of the most cringe-inducing writing I've ever experienced in my life. And this time, I am actually quite confident, or very confident, it's not AI written. I was not sure about the third book I read. I am not really sure if it's AI written. I think so. The second book was definitely AI written, and the first one I read of the challenge probably wasn't, but this one isn't AI written. But there's so many weird things about this novel. Firstly, as I said, it is a multiple POV, but the author keeps switching between first person point of view and third person point of view, which is really strange. And a lot of the different characters are all written in first person, and it's so hard to distinguish between them because in mid-chapter, even though the author gives you a heads up, we change POVs, but it's still written in first person, which does not lead to a nice reading experience. A talented author could pull this off, but this is not well written. So basically what this novel is about people that are able to change into werewolves, and they have alphas and they have omegas and they have different packs, different clans or tribes fighting against each other. And we follow Esme, who is this character that is beaten down, has no confidence, is very, very low ranked in the clan. But then there is another wolf, a werewolf, that has shown love and compassion and interest in her, even though she does not deserve it. I am finding the world to be confusing. It's set in our world, but I'm finding the dynamics between the characters and understanding how the packs and the stuff works to be quite confusing and hard to understand, and very similar to all the other books. The characters here have very, very little depth to them. There's basically nothing here that is that interesting. So yeah, I'm basically just hating my reading life at the moment. This is again awful. At least it does have a bit more going for it than the other ones. There hasn't been much of a romance yet, but I do foresee that this power dynamic between this weak werewolf and alpha werewolf might come into play, and we'll see what happens. But let's continue. Next time you see me, I'll finish the novel, and yeah, let's get to it. And finished. So this turned out to be... Is it the worst book I read? No, it's not the worst book I read, but this is another 1-star review, which is the first time in my life I read 4 books that I honestly would have given 1-star review. Obviously, I'm gonna give it 5 stars because that's the aim of the challenge, but... So the way that the second half of this novel works is that it turns from being the setup of, you know, werewolves, dynamics, shape-shifting, whatever, and then it just turns into a very, very graphic, steamy romance where we have at least 3 very graphic adult scenes that just describe way too many details. And I was actually considering stopping reading this because as a Christian, I don't really think I should be consuming stuff like this because it can mess up with someone's mind, and like obviously I want to honor Susanna with my thoughts and stuff, and I just felt reading this was literally like reading or watching adult content. It was genuinely horrible. The romance in this novel is barely developed, and we just read adult scenes, and then there's a bit of like plot and then another adult scene, and then a bit of a plot and then another adult scene. Basically what ends up happening is that this alpha male werewolf and this, low-ranked female, they become a couple, they have a lot of adult fun, and then she becomes pregnant, and at the end of the novel they basically unify two clans with them being together. And in a lot of ways this felt like fan fiction or someone's fantasy just written in a book. Someone that loves the concept of shapeshifting and werewolves, having a lot of adult fun, and this is not why I read novels. The steamy romance was badly written. It was so awful. Like I don't even know what to say. I hated it. I hated reading that book. Genuinely awful. So I don't even know how I'm gonna give a 5-star review to this, because I don't even know what to say. How can I frame this into a positive thing? Okay, I think I have it. 5-star review. This book has the most unique cover I've ever seen in my life. End of review. Okay, end of this challenge. It is finally time to pick up Empire of Silence. When this video comes out, we'll probably have read this for quite a while, but can't wait to read something that people actually enjoy. See you in the next video.